they appreciate the live stuff, the hands-on.
I missed what was the name of the group you were talking
Sil-
about when I
Sil-
joined?
Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's you'll get some tough feedback, but they're very gear, as well. If you get, they won't talk gear, but there was we had this Asian woman come in who did the great song from The Greatest Showman, just her voice and piano.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, the microphone was not for her voice. Beautiful, beautiful alto. Like she could hit alto, that alto low, and um, and I'm like, oh. So automatically, I'm throwing the microphone that comes into my head. Of course, is the Newman 170, which is like $3,000. But then I was thinking something more affordable, like the Earthworks. And so I'm trying to say, like, I came in, I said, look, I'm sorry, but you're hurting because you don't have a pre. Try the ISA one from Focusrite. And I said, and grab yourself a microphone. And considering her power, I would try the Earthworks. And then everybody was all of a sudden, it was like, you mentioned gear, and
Yeah.
these guys get a boner.
Get
I mean, they were
excited.
like,
Yeah.
they just they got all excited, and we're like, okay, guys, we could go on for days on this. um but I can't comment with these guys. They're on a whole different level.
Oh, talking on mute here. I was going to say on that note, yeah, we're straight into the tech discussion here, and yeah, shout out to the Silicon Valley music production workshop. I think that's what it's called, meetup group, and they're a real great bunch there.
They are, yeah.
And I think several of our members have attended some of their meetups. I have as well, so it's good.
You're how I heard about them, so
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I mentioned on here a few times, and similar to their group, how we work. Well, I guess everyone here is a return member and participant, but we also now are live streaming on Twitch and YouTube as well. So we got that going as well, and so we have every music producer submit a track, which we put into a random selector. So we spin the wheel, and then whoever's name comes up, we play their tune, and then provide feedback. Many times, I got a few people in the waiting room here. Sorry, I got to admit to them. And sometimes people will share video as well, so we're not limited to just music. And we're pretty genre agnostic, as long as there's some connection to electronic music. So even if it's hybrid, but certainly we're no strangers to electronic dance music. But like I say, there's kind of basically music being represented usually on our meetups from every angle, so which is great. And so yeah, without any further ado, I would just make sure I'm not missing anyone here. Yeah, so basically I see a bunch of people have submitted music, which is great. And oh, hey, Peter, welcome. I think you were here last time, and good to see you back. It's good to see Tiny Bites on camera for a change, man. Like we were talking gear earlier. We got Paul there in the background. That's not just a picture. That's actually his studio. And yeah, so basically I'll go ahead and share my screen and pick a name. Just make sure. I'm always worried that I'm missing a name, to be honest with you. So go ahead and do this. Okay, so I think I got everyone right. I got Paul. Did I get? Yeah, I got Paul there.
Just missing me.
Oh, right. Okay, perfect.
Trying to.
All right, I'm gonna hit the button.
It's going to come up with me because I haven't sent an email yet. Watch. Oh, no, 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 good.
Well, but Jeff's not here actually, so we'll have to. I don't think he is anyway, not yet. So you know what? I'll spin the wheel again. It could still be you, Tiny Bites. It could still be you. Wow, twice. All right.
Jeff again.
I'll add him when he comes back, because he sent a file across in the email, right? So I've been trying to be proactive. So thanks for sending me the music files ahead of time, guys. By the way, that kind of makes it more smooth. And Richard, got your name right this time. How are you today, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you now.
Right. Super. I had a little mic problem earlier. So the spiel, and then you play the song. Is that the deal?
It's optional. You know, some people like to set it up. Some people,
Or
don't want to taint the
I
what I mean, people's perceptions, I guess. They just want to hear the music. So I can buy either or, we're not forcing you. So if you'd rather let the music do its talking,
well,
we can
just
come back and talk about it. But
let me just put some context around it and then push the button. I'm not sure if maybe Paul, I know, Lenny, I've played this track before, probably a year ago. For the rest of you, probably you haven't heard this before. Produced in Bitwig version 5.1x, whatever is out right now. 4 minutes and 40 seconds long. I think it's 100 beats per minute. And it's a little journey, and different. It's danceable, and it's sat for months and months, like what usually happens for me. I start a piece and then I get distracted to do something else, or life gets in the way and things take a while. So I've been remixing and remixing. I haven't added anything to the music, to the instrumentation, to the structure in a while. So it's mostly been mixing down and mixing down. Oh, and I guess the other unique thing is I'm experimenting with more dynamics. And so I've reduced the number of LUFs to 18, or increased to whichever way you look at it, negative 18, as opposed to sometimes you hear or read that 14 LUFs is the recommended volume level. So I'm thinking it might be a little bit soft, so you might want to turn up the amplifier on your end and let the amp do more of the work. But I did this because there's more loud and quiet, and I wanted to accentuate the dynamics. So that's the setup. Tell me what you think. I'm trying to call this finished. But we can talk about it on the other side.
all right, sounds good. So yeah, just head on over to Twitch or the other alternative stream sources like YouTube, and just make sure that you're muted here on the Zoom side of things. And also, I wanted to say, Richard, last time we talked about music length. So I just wanted to say once again, I mean, if you wanted to go beyond the 10-minute limits, we're willing to, to give you an exception there. So, like,
I'll think about that and I'll submit something.
all right, sounds good.
I have a whole other project I'm working on. I can tell you about it. Okay.
All right, all right, all right. Let's give it a listen.
That brings me back to the Rupert Hine. It's like
from brings me back to the Rupert Hine.
Oh,
Like
brings
me back to the.
Sorry, that was my bad. Yeah, Rupert Hine. That's it was like I had the Better Off Dead movie in my head going, watching Lane Myers tackle this untamed slope. Yeah, great track.
Very
Richard,
clean, Rich. Oh, sorry.
I was going
Go
to say,
ahead.
you mentioned that you finished it at -18 at LUFS integrated, right? Like
That was the goal, yes. And I did it at 12, at 14. I just did it at multiple um, volume intensities,
Yeah.
and then I've been listening to it, and I've just tried to compress less, and then just turn it up more on the amp. I mean, I've got hundreds of watts, and
I asked because the mix didn't feel quiet to me, and I came in with that assumption when you said, "Oh, it's -18." I'm going to have to turn up a bit, but no,
originally it was at
dynamic
14,
overall.
and it's been at 12, and it's where everything is loud. So it's an experiment.
Yeah. Well, it fits your style because the drums themselves aren't too transient or punchy, right? So you have that room.
You have that drum stuff at the beginning and at the end, and then there's definitely a departure in the center, and I just wanted to make room for all of that. So
I thought it sounds fantastic. I would have to echo that it didn't sound particularly quiet. In fact, I looked at my gain on the headphones and I thought, I would have expected them to be higher, so that it did give that illusion. And I really liked it. The drums were fantastic. It sounded like you recorded them yourself, or that they were live instruments.
Libraries, but just searching through them all and linking all the choosing the waves and then laying them all out. And yes, I do play the drums also, but it's fortified with a real drummer playing drums. That's why it sounds much better than if I had done it. But a lot of the cymbal work and things like that I played myself. It helped build in the segues and the transitions between the sections. So
yeah, I could hear that. It seemed like it was unique recording. The only other thing one thing I would say is that I could hear you could hear you changing notes throughout, but I didn't notice. I mean, and I go, when you hear my song, you realize how simplistic I look at things. But the chord progression was very ethereal for me. You could kind of hear the root notes of things moving around, but there wasn't something to kind of connect me to a feeling or an emotion. I had to really make that up on my own, which I found. It wasn't hard to, but I wonder if you bring up some more chord elements that it might add something to it. Although I know you said it was done. I should never have said that. So.
No. I'm always interested in comments. It always takes it somewhere else, so I appreciate that. In my explanation rather than defense, I would say I am also sort of a modular guy. I have decades of history of modular synthesis. If you want to make a chord, you have to lay it all out, and replicate the oscillator path and signal path and all of that. So, and also I'm a former saxophone player, so I have a sort of a monophonic ear, and I've noticed that over time. I approach things sort of as a singular instrument rather than as a starting from a piano, for example, chordal, progressions and that sort of thing. It's just not the way that my brain has been wired. But point well taken. I appreciate it. Good observation.
You're welcome.
I was just going to echo what Paul mentioned. That's a very good observation. It didn't seem quiet at all, and it's interesting that you're actually going to less compression, so you're doing a good job there, because it definitely sounded like the full spectrum was nice and clear. And well, I'm always making that comment with your music, it seems, but once again, I feel it's appropriate. Like, it's very clean.
Yep, I loaded the original wave that came out of the DAW into the mastering software, and then the negative 14 lux version, and it looked like a sausage by comparison. I mean, it was all bashed out, super. Everything was loud, and then at negative 14, there was still a lot of dynamics in the wave, in the whole amplitude of all the waves. So um, I'm sort of experiencing it myself, and I appreciate y'all's comments. It helps, how other people perceive it, and so I appreciate listening and comments.
And good for you for taking it back a bit, because I mean, I have so much trouble with that. I was in here the last session complaining about the boominess of my bass, and the reality is it was just mixed too hot. And it's hard to take things back because you fall in love with the part, and of course, naturally, the louder it gets, it sounds better.
Yeah.
I thought that was really beautiful. It was great. A lot of detail there.
And this item is one of 5, maybe 6. I haven't decided yet, that I'm about to release as a package, as a group. I guess we would have called it an album at one time. And so it's also been interesting loading all of them in sequentially into the mastering software, and then looking at their relative amplitudes, and then saying, well, I want them to sound, to have some similarities, and then trying to go through the compression, the equalization, all of them as a group, and that's also been an interesting exercise. So I'm learning stuff as I prepare.
Nice. Very nice. Let us know definitely when that happens.
Yeah, at my rate, it'll be another year, but I'll let you know for sure. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. I'll go ahead and spin the wheel again, but Richard, always a pleasure. Alrighty. Vosto.
Yes, sir. How's it going?
Pretty good. How are things? How are things in Europe?
Amazing. In my part of Europe,
Yeah,
it's okay.
I mean,
We're still,
give us a summary of every part of Europe. Come on, I'm just kidding.
yeah, we start from England, then we go to Germany, and then we go to Eastern Europe, where it's a wild place. But let's stop with the cringy stuff and let's go to the music, huh?
Yeah. So you sent me 2 tracks. As you know, it's 1 track initially. So which one do you want to hear? And then we might come around again and we'll listen.
All right. So the tracks that I send you are from
Tin Man and Scarecrow.
Tin Man and Scarecrow. They're some songs I composed as themes for a comic book which is based on the Wizard of Oz, but in the future, and like a parallel post-apocalyptic kind of environment. So they don't look as cartoonish as in Wizard of Oz. They look like more like warriors. Like Scarecrow looks really cool, and he has like a big caliber rifle, and like Tin Man is this like cool looking robot with interesting weapons. So Tin Man and Scarecrow, and the comic book is called Battle Brick Road.
Okay. I'll play both since they're related, and
you don't have to play them both.
Yeah. No,
now.
I will. It's based on your description there, because it's from the same comic book you're saying, right? So it's got to
play
be
one
done.
now, and then we can go for a second round.
We'll listen to one if you like. We'll talk about it, and then we'll play the second one. Okay? But
I just don't want to bore everyone,
Oh no, trust me, it will not bore us. I already know.
As you wish, my friend.
Sure. Okay, let's do it.
So fantastic strings. Those are really great. And with the reverb, when things went away, I mean, really felt like that was a concert piece. It was a space. I definitely noticed that.
Yeah, the violins are actually VST from the Contact library. I believe it's called Emotional Strings or something like that. And by themselves, they don't sound as good, but with a transformer, I have a transformer from a company called Kush. I believe it's called like Omega A and Omega B or D. There's some transformers, and they add extra harmonies. They act kind of like a distortion, but it's only subtle distortion. So not saturators, but like some kind of other type of circuitry, and that makes it sound more real and more cool. And then like you said, the reverb, which is like Valhalla stuff I use, the vintage reverb usually, which also adds a little bit of character. And yeah, it's a more cinematic type trailer piece, you know.
Yeah, very cinematic. And if I could plug Valhalla Vintage Verb, I bought it a couple months ago, and it's actually, you wouldn't think, but it really polishes everything up. Anyways.
It's the best reverb. I always find myself using it. And before I use that, I use the Valhalla regular one.
Nice. Good info. Paul, you use it as well? Okay.
Like on almost everything. Yeah.
Right on.
I saw it as there was a Reddit post about what's some of your favorite plugins, and that came up, and I really wouldn't have thought so, because you think reverb is such a simple thing, but I don't know what it is. It's I mean, I really don't know, but it's better. It's just better than what I have. I've got FL Studio. I've got half a dozen reverb, and it makes a big difference. But that song was. I mean, the one thing I noticed as well is that with both of your songs, Richard as well. But I mean, you guys have such long, progressing melodies. Like it's a real trip where a lot of what I do is I'm looking at sort of 8 bars, 16 bars, and you guys just seem to have this evolving creature that just moves on and on and on. And it's I like it a lot. It's amazing. It's tough for me to do the melodies, and you guys just seem to do it for bars and bars and bars. So
it's the reason why I do music, man. That's the whole thing: explore and to entertain myself. And if I don't feel entertained, then I'm not gonna show it to anyone, you know.
Well, that's true. I feel like I might be entertained with some pretty basic stuff, but whatever is fun for you. I just love the. It's been a long time since I've listened to trance, and that sort of where it just really evolves over time. I love to hear that stuff. So I think you both did a great job.
Well, let's go ahead and listen to the other track as well, Vostel. Like I say, so that was Tin Man, right? I'm going off memory here.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not totally wrong. And so yeah, let's give it a listen. And so this one is Scarecrow, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Nice track. I recognize the suppressive.
Nice track. I recognize the suppressive.
Nice track with this stupid thing. Yeah, the suppressive patch. How do you deal with the overhead? Or sorry, with the recording the hydrosynth, like the headroom. I have issues with that.
You mean with the gain or what?
Well, just headroom. I find I have to really narrow bands to get it in.
I don't know, bro.
Like EQ it, you mean, Tiny Bat? You're saying you have to EQ it?
The limit, like it's not. I keep it at a low level, so it keeps all the dynamic range, and then at the end I put a little bit of limiting, but mostly I leave the dynamic range intact. The limiting just so I can bring a bit the instruments closer to the drums, but not too much to the point where it becomes brick wall. Like if you take my tracks, you're gonna see like all of the shapes, but also you're gonna see a little tiny bit of brick, but like a moving brick. so I take care of the levels and I meter everything. It ends up sounding pretty clean.
Yeah, no, I like the hydrosynth. Somebody had mentioned Blade Runner. If you actually look at Van Glees, he now has the hydrosynth deluxe in front of him all the time. It's a great synth.
Yeah, I don't know what synth I used to create what sounds like the whatever Vangelis used, but I think Vangelis used Oberheimer or something like that. No?
Oh.
Like
I was gonna say, because that's more of CS80.
CS80, yeah, sorry. CS80. Yeah, that's the one. But I didn't use any CS80 or anything like that, bro. I don't remember exactly what I used, but you can make that sound in any synth. It's a pretty basic sound, but it's cool. And it's
you'll forgive me. It sounds like, but I mean the discussion. I'm not familiar with hardware particularly, but it sounds like Tiny Bites is asking, how did you fit that in the mix? Because it sounds like it took up the entire spectrum. I don't know. Is that?
Sorry, I thought when in the chat I made a comment asking if it was the hydrosynth.
Forgive me.
I find when I record with the hydrosynth, I have issues with headroom because it's a very I think it's the effects. I usually turn the effects off within the synth and record everything raw and then reapply, like Valhalla or I use exponential audio reverbs or one of my faves. And so, but anyways,
I guess you just EQ it. The most I can say is EQ it and try to keep the volume under control when you record the inputs. Because if it's super loud, then it's gonna be messy in the mix. I mean, we all know this, right?
Yeah. Sorry. No, I asked the question because I thought you had said it was the hydrosynth. So the first that Blade Runner, it actually sounds like the suppressive patch, the very first patch on the synth. So
interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad it sounds like the real thing.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's great track. I like it.
Yeah, excellent track. And I like how it changes. Starts off like the real Blade Runner vibe, and you switch it up there at the end. So
And then, well, then it gets into a slower beat with like some shakers, and then it's gets slow again, changes a little bit. The melody goes a little bit mysterious, and then with the higher tempo towards the end, and like a cinematic type ending. And I just like how the Blade Runner synth goes really well with the bassy growly one. Like I like the interaction between those.
cool. And once again, that was for a comic book. Were you doing your
themes for two characters in the comic book called Battle Brick Road. So it's like Yellow Brick Road, but it's Battle Brick Road, and it's like post-apocalyptic with renditions of the characters in the classic, but like more badass versions and with crazy weapons and a more badass story. so you guys can check Battle Brick Road out if you want, and it's gonna be on vinyl. That's why I had to be really careful with the vinyls, because I mean, you have to have space and headroom for the vinyl, something like 2 dBs or something like that. You can't
wow.
give a.
So this is you mastered this for vinyl even. I see. Okay.
Yeah, it has to be clear and it has to not be too loud.
I think -6, if I'm not mistaken, dB maximum, something like that. Just going off memory, but yes, it's much different. You don't have the same headroom. And
As a peak, -6.
I could be wrong. I don't want to mislead you, but look.
I just mean the 2 dB in terms of space between 0 and the thing itself.
Yeah.
I always thought it was lower.
Maybe it's more. If it's more, they're gonna message me and tell me to make more, and I'll make more. But yeah, it's gonna be like a small vinyl with the 2 tracks and the cover art with the amazing character Tin Man and Scarecrow. So that's that.
Excellent. Yeah, let us know when that's.
Thank you guys for listening.
I'm looking at it online. It's pretty cool. So I encourage you. I mean, it's a comic book for sure.
Oh, right. Thanks.
It's a full-blown comic book.
Yes. Yeah, the crowdfunding has been pretty good on those creators, so I'm happy for them. And thanks guys for listening to my extremely long tracks, and 2 of them, so that's quite something. Thanks.
Thank you for all the way from Central Europe. So we gotta bend the rules a little bit sometimes. Us North Americans here, we're blessed to have.
By the way, Jeff is back. You can play his tracks now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put his name in. Yep, exactly.
Oh, thanks. I don't know if it's the location or if something was happening with my Zoom, but it totally gummed up my system. It actually took me an hour to get everything to load up.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to shut down and start back over again. So excuse me.
Well, your songs were the first 2, so congratulations.
Yeah.
But we waited for you.
Well, it's all good. You had sent it in email, so I had put the names of everyone who sent me an email basically, and then your name came up twice. So, but it's all good. It's all good.
That's crazy. Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. But anyway, Andrew,
you weren't able to collect your prize.
Yeah.
Hey everybody. Hope everyone's having a good night. I guess the track I submitted today was something I had in the depths of my computer. I rediscovered, and I decided I'd post it on the SoundCloud. So I thought maybe I'd share it since it's something I had listened to in a while. I mean, yes, I have listened to it since I found it, but it's something that I haven't shared with anybody before. This one's called Gamma. Lenny, if you want to take it away.
All right, let's give it a listen.
All right, thanks. Yeah, so that's something that I made about, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I just going through my files and I found it, and I was like, hey, sounds pretty good, and yeah, so I decided, hey, why not share it with you guys? If we have time, I have a more recent track, but yeah, so it's my contribution for tonight. Thanks for listening.
Still sounds fresh, man, from 5 years ago, you're saying.
Yeah.
Wow. Kudos, man. That's proof that it's got the lasting power. Very good vibe. But sorry, Jeff, I think you were saying something.
Yeah, I felt like I was on a journey. I really enjoyed it. I thought the song transitioned well. I liked the sounds. It was very upbeat and joyful, which is exactly what I needed right now. So thanks, Andrew.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I was a big fan of the arpeggio, which I guess that was 3 notes for the most part, with a space on the 4.
Yeah, that was all played by hand. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. It led me through the whole thing. I mean, I'm a big fan of arpeggios, and the instrument you used, the effects on it, it kept my attention throughout. But when other elements were involved, it didn't take me away. But I could still always come back to that and kind of just feel that it's almost like I'm pedaling a bicycle, and that's what's kind of taking me through the sky. Is kind of what I felt like. If that makes any sense.
Cool.
Yeah, but I liked it. It was very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, great vibe. So yeah, we'll cycle around, Andrew, if we have time later.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good to me.
It reminds me of Nintendo Pilot Wings game. If you're all old enough to know, I mean, except for Richard, who looks maybe just a little bit too old for that. No, I'm sorry. But it's a Nintendo video game, and they did 8-bit stuff, but it was very whimsical. They used a lot of arpeggios, and it to me, the whole song felt like I was flying. Like I was on a journey. I was in the air, and yeah, I liked it a lot. Great sound choice as well.
Cool. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and spin the wheel, but thanks again, Andrew, for sharing.
Yep.
Okay, Peter.
All right. Certainly, yeah, I do very poppy music. This is my second time here. The last time I submitted a synthwave track. This one is, in a very similar vein. It's not finished, but it's pretty close. I'm pretty happy with it. It's got a lot of polish on it. There's a few things I'd like to do. But yeah, it's the opposite. When Richard was talking, I was thinking I could say all the opposite. I crammed it, I squashed it, I jammed it. It's -8 LUFs integrated, and yeah, I mean, turn it down if you need to. But it's funny because I actually turned it down half a luff on the way to sending it to Letty, because I thought, well, this is too loud. Take it down to half. Anyways, so. See what you guys think.
Yeah, let's give it a listen.
Oh, and actually, I'd love some advice on the vocals. There's something about them. I'm looking to get some kind of effect. I'd like to do something with them. They're pretty straightforward, but I got them from Splice, so it's not me singing or rapping.
Okay, keep that in mind. Let's give it a listen.
I'll be fucked up for the night. I'll be fucked up for the night. Pouring it up and dance to the vibe. I know if I ever see the light, I'll be up in the club and it's all alright. I'll be fucked up for the night. Pouring it up and dance to the vibe. I know if I ever see the light, I'll be up in the club and it's all alright. I'll be fucked up for the night. I'll be fucked up for the night. Pouring it up and dance to the vibe.
Well, that was fun. I liked it. Well, that was fun. I liked it. Well,
Fun is good.
Yeah, it was pretty fun instrumental, man. Like it's party mode, you know. The vocals are not my style, like it doesn't ring good in my ear, but you know, we got different styles, so it's fine.
I can't argue with you, Boston, but I grabbed vocals off of Splice, and I mean, ever since doing this, I really appreciate, like, even Britney Spears, because she can belt it out. I mean, she can give you some character. She can give you bloody harmonies and 6 different versions of it. There's something about it is lacking emotion in the vocals, but yeah, I understand that. I'm with you. Oh, sorry, Jeff, you're muted.
Rather than doing 2 separate vocal tracks, like you had a male rapper and then you had the hook, right?
Yes.
Like being you're doing dance tracks, like just have one hook and then have variations on that. I don't know. To me, it's a little too vocal driven. And I would have liked to have heard more of the instrumental and like the building of the melody itself. But the hook definitely works with the beat you have. But I think you could take that further, rather than splicing, pun intended, multiple kind of vocal tracks. I've done that a bit before in like some of my tracks too, but I went the other ways. I just gave up doing vocals entirely because I felt I couldn't make it sound authentic. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're totally right. I mean, I started off with the original, which is a very kind of trip hoppy, heavy, kind of rappy thing, but you can't find anything decent with that as far as vocals are concerned. And then I transitioned to the other one. I mean, they're almost like 2 different songs. And one of the things I definitely have trouble with is doing more with the vocals. I mean, I always hear the original sounding really good, and then the idea of chopping it and slicing it, it seems like a lot of work, to be honest. and I don't want to do it. But everyone seems to be echoing my own concerns about it.
Yeah.
So
The trumpets,
Again,
it was really good. I think, Jeff, you called out the name of those trumpets. What were those things called?
I call them Havana, yeah, Havana trumpets. Lots of reverb, lots of yeah, yeah.
I was
And
just watching some westerns last night, so I was hearing a lot of those those vibes going on. It was nice to hear it come in though. You made good use of it, so I thought that was
Italian
really
spaghetti western.
spaghetti westerns. Yeah,
yeah, thank you. I mean, that's really what I'm going for, a kind of
And
nostalgic
then they
feel.
killed Cain. I think that was the name of the movie I watched. Pretty good. But sorry,
That's fantastic.
Jeff, I think you disappeared now. He's been having some issues with Zoom, I believe. But yeah, the vocals was a good hook though. You know what I mean? It may be, I do agree with some of the other comments. It could be.
I mean, that rap is terrible. I mean, and it's the best I could find. I don't know. Yeah. So you know what? I'll ditch it. I'll ditch it, and I'll do something with the hook. That's a little more interesting. So I think you're right, Paul. You're totally right. And everything everybody said is like, yeah, yeah. I mean, sorry, you're right. You're right. I should have, but it's hard. It's difficult to do all that work, and that's something I'm not as familiar with as some of the other parts. So,
Jeff, I think you were about to say something. I don't know if your mic is cooperating. Oh,
no, I was saying like the vocals, could have a bit more splash to them or something like that. Like when you bring in a Havana trumpet, it just sort of explodes on it, and perhaps I don't know. It's pretty challenging to find a stronger material than you found. I think you're holding yourself to a pretty high standard. I think it sounded pretty darn good, but it's how do you get it to be excellent? I think that's what you're asking, and yeah, so a challenge to find good material to work from.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. You're right. Oh. Hi. Yeah.
And I thought the mastering was pretty good, Peter. Like last time you were saying that you just do everything in line in your DAW and you basically. So I thought the mixing was pretty.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time. Thank you. I mean, I worked on it quite a bit. I feel like I'm at a good level. Yeah, it's I'm working on it, and I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, you got yourself
This is Isaac, my
support.
son.
Hey.
You say hi?
How's it going? Right on. Well, awesome stuff. Thank you for sharing, Peter. And we'll go ahead and spin the wheel. Alrighty. Jeff.
Oh, what's this? My third time now? Third time lucky? I'm here. Okay, good.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay. So this was something I was on vacation. I took an iPad and I started to just put together a few sounds on an iPad, which was kind of neat because it forced me into, or it was easier to put everything into an 8-bar frame. And work on just some sounds, and then later I brought them back and put them into Logic. So Logic, one of the synthesizers that is quite strong there is Alchemy, and been trying that out a fair bit. I think it used to be Camel or something like that, and Apple bought it out. I bought out all the Camel synth stuff and has turned it into Alchemy, which I see people seem to be putting it forward as the Logic powerhouse. So anyway, I don't know, as far as the sound, it's let it rip, and yeah. Thanks,
All right.
Lenny. Thanks,
Yep.
everybody, for listening.
Yeah, let's give it a listen.
The reverbs in Logic.
Thank you. Yeah, some of the reverbs, especially the space design.
Yeah, Space Designer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. I great track. You did it on an iPad, and there's a lots to really throw out into the system and turn it into. I feel like somebody mentioned Nintendo earlier. You know, like I was in the Luigi's Haunted Mansion, traveling through some.
That's fun. Yeah, I kind of liked, I was sort of stuck in small rooms for a lot of time. And so just to work on that iPad, and it forced me to get some ideas together in in a small space, which then when I came back to Logic and put it into Logic from because I was doing it on GarageBand, and then I moved it into Logic to expand it. But I liked that it kind of excited me as the iPad as a way of getting my ideas together. Yeah.
Yeah, and that bass line that was going on throughout, throw some motion on the filter or something to create some, just some variation with it. It's pretty static. It's a good focus point, but just some little bit where it gets a little bright and dims out a few places, or or something rhythmically in some parts. But yeah, it was great, the fact that the idea came off an iPad.
I like the song too, man. I still have it in my head, like I'm still nodding to it, so, like it's still in my head, so that's amazing.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Boston.
That's a nice soft kick that's right under there, pulsating. That's great, dude. And with the reverb pad pitch going crazy. That's cool stuff. And that little like that's cool. It reminds, this whole vibe of the song reminds of like 79, 81, 82 Kraftwerk from Germany, stuff like that. A little bit of Tangerine Dream, like.
Yeah, you were saying that. I felt very good as soon as I read that. Thank you.
That's your style. I think you should proceed with this style. It's cool. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you. I've got some other stuff that I do. Like there's some things that I've done that are quite jazzy, or sometimes when I'm doing things with my guitar, I go in a totally different direction. But yeah, there's something in my blood that that gets me to this sort of style. So yeah.
Yeah, and the little hi-hat too, like it was simple and good, I like that. I use that kind of thing too.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Oh,
I agree. Nice bass line, or simple melody, but I guess I didn't think of Kraftwerk, but I suppose that's appropriate. It has a kind of vibe there similarly. But yeah, good stuff, Jeff.
Well, I appreciate having this group and bringing my ideas, and your feedback is just amazing. It's really made a huge difference for me in my output, but also my creativity. Like just half the time I don't understand what's going on, what you're saying, and then I go and I look and I start experimenting, and eventually, I've really felt I've grown because of this group, and all of your, the work you're doing is just incredible, everybody. Thank you.
Well, great to hear that. Appreciate that. And yeah, over the years we've heard comments, and we've also heard and witnessed people come back and just get better and better, and over the years I feel that I personally have benefited as well from and also hearing a lot of great music. That's the great thing. It's kind of like a win-win-win. Helps you personally with your own production, plus you get to hear other great music, and share a lot of ideas and mastering. I was just telling my neighbor, like music was a lot more social too before. I mean, it still is, but people were in a band, you know what I mean? You were interacting. Now a lot of times we're just in our own space, and so it's very important to have the interaction with other creative people to be able to sometimes get out of your own, echo chamber or whatever, and get useful, insights. So I think it just happens naturally with good chemistry as well. So with the right kind of, creative people involved. But anyway, I will go ahead and spin the wheel.
Just real quick, Lenny,
sorry.
I was telling people, I enjoy the group because, I've got lots of people to tell me the music's great, because I have friends, I mean, not many, but I do have a few, and they, oh yeah, it's great, it's great, it's great. And when this group, I don't need someone to tell me it's great. I need someone to say, hey, this could be better, because people don't have the ear for it, right? They don't understand the difference between, something that's coming through the mix or not. They don't even think about it. So it's great to get that constructive feedback here.
Yeah, sure. Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and spin the wheel. And thank you again, Jeff, for sharing. Alrighty. Okay, so I have a tune that's well, more or less drum and bass. So I'll go ahead and play it. I'm sure that's a big surprise. But yeah, I'll go ahead and play it, and we can. It's in progress, by the way, so it's a newer tune, and I'll talk about it afterwards, I guess. So.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop, 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 whoop.
That's funny.
Yeah, bro. It brings me back to the parties in the warehouse with the drum and bass. It's cool.
Yeah.
Classic kind of wub bass, but a different break than I'm used to from
Right,
It's
exactly.
cool, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's kind of it's got more of almost, dare I say, the trap kind of the hip hop vibe. It's more half step, but then it's got
Yeah.
like the more ragga.
So old school. I'd say so a little older school, like when they were dropping off the dub plates.
Right.
Mhm.
No, the hi-hat would pan slightly to the left would have been is a little too center. The just a little bit of dry, like maybe too much dry up front on the front drums. But that's what was coming out of my speakers. I don't trust them. But man, I love that track. The opening sequence, the candy in the stereo, and then there's one part you look like you were gonna take me a different direction and then drop right back in. It was yeah, it brought me back. A lot of imagery.
Yeah, I think Vostel heard the earlier version of this track. This was actually, that intro was kind of a leftover from another track, to be honest with you. And then I swapped it out. And I think it kind of works though, anyway, it's in the same key. But yeah. So it's sort of one of those situations where, and then that bass line that comes in like after the wobble bass really reminds me of like a grunge track, you know what I mean? Like Nirvana or something. Like you stomp on the guitar pedal and it has kind of that meandering kind of, or meandering like bass line kind of. Anyway, I named the track Grunge actually just from that, because I felt like that was the vibe I was getting. But then I duplicated the track in all sincerity, and I switched up the instrument, and I went back and forth it, and I just thought that wobble bass kind of worked, just like an old school, not really much side chaining, you know what I mean? Like just kind of old fashioned, just layered.
I love the wobble bass. I thought it was great. And then, yeah, the drums were almost, I mean, not halftime, but there was not a lot of fill to it. Like it was just really hitting the key drum and bass rhythms that you need to hit. It was, yeah, very chill. I thought it was great. And it's just relax. Like, there's something I'd want to hear at about 2:30, 3 a.m. Maybe not at midnight, but as things are winding down, it's a fantastic chill track.
Yeah, I don't know if it was too repetitive. That was the thing I was struggling with, frankly, in the second half. So I took out the bass on the second drop, and you just hear the drums. I feel like that part works. And I don't know. I guess there's enough.
No, it wasn't repetitive. I didn't feel that at all. I thought it had so much character, and it just it was always moving and transitioning for me.
I have a quick question. Do we know how? I mean, I'm sure you guys might know, but how do you make a wobble bass? I mean, as far as sound design goes,
There's the
could we do
right
a close
guy,
notes on that?
the right guy for that question.
Just an envelope.
Deviant Audio. Go ahead, Vostel. Just gonna look up his name actually.
It's just an envelope,
Does
man.
YouTube,
On the
Is that just volume fluctuations that are going on?
No, not really. I mean, you can use volume too, but you use the envelope on the cutoff basically, and you can
On
also
the filter.
yeah, and you can also put repeating LFO if you wanted to repeat, and then you modify the rate of that LFO to have faster or slower wobs. But that was in the old school time. So now what you have to do is actually keep it more interesting. So each time you have a new, you have to keep the wobs interesting. So you have one going a certain shape, but the next one has to hit differently and play a little bit with the syncopation.
Yeah. Now, is that only a filter cutoff thing, or is there a pitch shift?
There's all kinds of things. There's pitch. There's
amplitude. Yeah.
There's also the automate from. So if you have like two oscillators, you modify one with the shape of the other and morph that, and also hook that to the LFO. So like hook multiple things to the LFO into the same envelope, and then see what interesting sound you can get out of that. You know.
I see. So I mean, there's a lot of modulators going on, but it's an artistic thing where you connected a number of modulators, see how that sounds, and adjust it.
Yeah, and then you can further add effects in the chain to make it bigger or more growly, or distortions and whatnot, phasers, the chorus, whatever.
What's that, Lenny? That free synth that what the heck's that called?
There's just one that's Vital has a free version.
Vital.
Yeah,
Vital.
Yeah. That is what I used there, by the way. That is a Vital.
Yeah. You could grab Vital if you really want. If you've got the money, then obviously you go with the standard serum, and those are the easiest. There's all kinds of videos out there. Stranger is one that Spy Audio mentioned. Lenny mentioned. His videos teaches you how to do the wobble using what DAW are you using, Peter?
I use FL Studio, and I do have Serum.
That's one of his videos, by the way. I put it in the chat. You can check out.
Basically, all the explanations that I gave are for Serum.
Yeah, exactly, and that's I unfortunately one of these days I got to get Serum.
But I mean, it does the same thing as the Massive.
As Vital
does the same thing as Vital or Faceplant, or
it's
just about the tone that you like, I guess. And then some of the emulators of the synths of the past, you can't do that kind of complex automation on those. So it's a more modern synth thing.
Yeah, snappy envelopes really help. So.
But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate the feedback. So,
go ahead and send me that preset, Lenny.
Yeah, I will.
Actually, I started a drum and bass track after the last time I had a meeting with you guys, and it's not quite. I was going to share it today, but it's not quite there, so I grabbed that other one.
Okay, well, hey.
Anyways,
we'll look forward to it.
What must have been your track from last time that inspired us.
I like to hear that people get inspired to do drum and bass. It's in fact any genre. I'm just kidding around about that, but it's nice to hear it, because the same thing happens to me. Listening to a lot of other stuff outside, like I was really influenced by synthwave, for example. And I really feel like.
It sounds like a lot of us are, to be honest. I hear a lot of synthwavy sounds from most people's music here. It's got that sort of 80s synth vibe to it. There's a lot of contemporary aspects to it, but most people seem to be pulling from an 80s sound in their template, in their palette, and their sounds, and their songs.
Yeah, definitely a lot. Speaking of which, Tiny Bites, you're the next contestant.
So, yeah, this is an idea. It was about Elise did some of the drum programming in it, and it was about an hour's worth of work and some shoddy vocal to create a different I don't know but it's a drum and bass, and it was just an idea to see. I thought I'd throw it in there and see, Lenny, if it's something you wanted to tear apart.
All right. Heck yeah, let's give a listen, and let's see.
Oh, and the vocals aren't set in the mix right. Ignore that. That was a one take.
feel her love.
Yeah, it was just
Wow. You got a
one.
lot packed in there in 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was just
Like a lot packed in there in 2
It's
minutes.
short, bro. I was grooving to it.
Anyways, yeah, it was about an hour. One take on the vocal idea. It was just 4 lines, but I don't know. I like the groove. There's no mixing or anything. It literally this is how I do things. Kind of like the iPad idea. Turn it on. My daughter was sitting with me. We started with one loop, one drum and bass loop included with Ableton, and then broke it out and tore it apart from there. But just to see if that's something we wanted to work on.
I remember hearing the that melody and the vocal. And,
Yeah,
and the intro really, when I was listening to it, like it was very melodic, very you know, like, which is not always the case with drum and bass. So this is extremely melodic drum and bass, which I like, and I've been accused of making myself actually more in the past, I would say. But this was really, really good. I think there's a lot of I mean, this definitely needs to be developed to a full track, man. I mean, it's good stuff.
It had a very like a really nice sound to it. I mean, to me, I don't know. I do everything out of the box, but it felt like an analog sound or something. Everything was warm. Um, you know, the sounds were not overly complicated, but they were all very warm. It felt like they all fit very well into what I think of as drum and bass and sort of old school drum and bass. So it brought that back to me. So
I forgot to
I liked
mention the
it.
second drop. Nice choice of hats too. Just a nice little touch there. Like I noticed like the nice. Sorry to interrupt there, Peter, but
No, don't
yeah,
be silly.
the drum work was excellent.
I'll let her know. Yeah, it was hard to place that one. You know, the beat, the original drum beat was a drum and bass, but the bass line is more dub. And it was kind of a mismatch of things. So, but same idea of what Elise is working on. I just kind of jumped in on it and said, "Oh, I have something I started." So we just quickly arranged it.
Melody was pretty catchy too, man.
Thanks.
Like I said, your vocal tone is cool. The timbre of your voice. I don't know if it's the best way of processing the vocals for this type of instrumental. I think, like, for this type of music, it's necessary to. Well, I don't want to take away of the soul of your voice, but you know, things need to be more straight or something and chopped out, like that's what they do in modern drum and bass tracks. I'd like to try and do that, maybe, you know, not necessarily in these tracks, but when we collaborate, I want to put your voice on my track because it's a really cool voice, and I'll get to play around with processing on your voice.
Yeah, I mean that voice alone could be a track. Like you could make a track built around that, right? You know what I mean? It's already, and I think the melody, like Vost was saying, like it's so catchy. I still have it in my mind. You know, like it's a nice.
Yeah, I think they're both very good. They're very good individually, but I know what he's talking about is they're not gelled. They're sitting on top of each other, beside each other, and they work. And they could definitely work better. But yeah, I mean, they're both individually great. I mean, to listen to the vocals to describe it, it sounds like, well, it's. I mean, it's obvious you just kind of recorded it at home really quickly, but it's got a real quality to it. Yeah, put a little reverb, make it a little more bedroomy. and it could be its own track, but I think you could marry it perfectly with the song that you have there, but it's obvious. Not much effort has gone into that yet, so.
So the length of the different voices when you harmonize, like one of them was going longer than the other, and it's like, in my opinion, it should be the same and ending at the same time, both voices, so they stay together.
Yeah, you have to know what you're doing when it comes to that, though.
Okay, we have time. We can take multiple tracks
Is
and
that-
make choices.
Is that a hard no for you, Tiny? That's it. Well, you got to know what you're doing, so I can't get involved with that.
I am not. I actually tried. I have a few where I started up and created a bunch of vocal tracks. Tried to do the harmonizing, with the different, like barbershop kind of, and it's not. I write all my music using my ear, and it's untrained. It's just whatever I feel. I mean, Lenny's seen me. He plays some stuff. I'll get behind the keys, play a little bit, and then, within a few seconds, I have something. But when it comes to vocals, I'm too busy listening to myself, so I'm constantly correcting. And then if you try to run it through a pitch corrector, like in Logic, it just looks at me and goes, "What?" It doesn't. My voice doesn't stabilize, and plus, that was a one take thing. I literally turned the mic on and went, "Can you feel the love?" And it was just because it had this warm feel. So it's like, "Can you feel the love? Can you feel love? Can you feel her love? Can you feel her loss?" There's a whole story behind all that, but it was just a mood. But the vocals are not timed, and you could hear where they were sitting. They weren't even. I didn't even touch them. I just left it. So, but the idea, it was to throw the idea out and see if Lenny wanted to bite, and or somebody wanted to bite and do some bass.
I thought it was really good, and I think that it's a really neat voice, and it would do really well if you had a professional. I mean, a professional vocalist or a female vocalist, someone to complement, to do the harmonies behind you strongly, where you can have those imperfections of your voice coming through, but there's that backbone of a real, like, a harmonized sound behind it. I think would be great. So, yeah, I'm surprising. Good for you, and good for your courage. You'll never hear me singing on the mic. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, I despise it. It's everyone keeps saying, "Oh, you should," but I only put it there because when I listen to my music, it needs something. It needs something. Oh, I'll put vocals. They won't listen to the music. They'll just hear the bad vocals. So, anyways, thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. And yeah, that's there's a lot packed in there in that 2 minutes. So it's good stuff. Okay, well, actually, I guess the last person is Paul. I'll make it official anyway. But
Spin the wheel.
there you go, Paul. It's all you, buddy.
All right. So what I'm going to play for you is actually, it was recorded over 2 years ago. It's a YouTube video of me using my Roland MC707 with Electron model samples for the drums and Electron Digitone for pads and atmosphere. And you're going to see an Electron Digitac in the frame, but all I used it was for delay in the intro because I just bought it that week. But you've seen me use this over the last couple of years. And the point I want to make is I released an album last year where I had 2 tracks, and this was the 3rd track I intended for the album, but I never finished it. I felt like it didn't really fit in. And I've since sold the Electron model samples, so if I'm going to finish this song, I have to redo the drums entirely. But I don't know. I kind of like where I was going with it, even though it's a little softer, maybe less aggressive than I want to go with my sound. But yeah, curious what you think of it, and if you have any ideas for how the drums could be improved or even done, because I'm going to redo them on my current kit. Yeah, let me know.
All right, let's watch and listen.
That's a great track, man. Especially for hardware jam and the keyboard riff. Track. Oh, frick this! Especially for hardware jam. I'm bad for this tonight. What the hell? Yeah, and the little riff you were playing kind of brought me back to the riff you were playing on the keyboard. Reminded me of Be Born Bettin. I don't know if you've ever heard his old goth style.
Okay.
He tends to play in that thing. But yeah, man, that was grooving. You got to finish that.
I
man.
appreciate that.
That's gonna be release worthy if you mix it down.
Yeah, I'm thinking of redoing it, but with so that was an acoustic drum kit, the samples I used, but maybe making them a little more electronic, a little more punchy. But yeah, otherwise, I kind of wish I had finished it 2 years ago, but luckily I still have the equipment and the file saves. So yeah, I'd like to go back to it.
Yeah, the drum kit was really great. I noticed it right off the bat as it began. But yeah, you could set that out for all kinds of stuff. That would be really interesting because I mean, it was good, but I don't know if it was the perfect fit for what was going on there. So make it better. You made some money, you sold the samples, and make it better. And by the way, I don't know what the hell you're doing on those things. I'm trying to figure it out. I know what faders are, and I know cutoffs. I know, and it's like,
well, that one, I don't know if you noticed, but I wasn't muting and unmuting like I normally do in the live when I do my live hardware jams, and it's because I pre-programmed that in like the MC707's version of a song mode, where you just create scenes and you basically, it's like Ableton. If you're familiar with Ableton session view, it's like play these clips in a row, plays these clips in a row, and then you just
FL does performance mode.
So they're really similar concepts, like between software and hardware. But yeah, that's that one I kind of want to finish, and I think it'd be a good candidate to play live as well. So because
I was watching.
It's not hard to play it on the keyboard.
I was watching you do little tweaks, and I was trying. I couldn't figure it out, but I'm like, what the hell is he changing?
Well, yeah, and towards the end, you had that. Was it just an effect that you were adding there, basically? Like, you kind of added.
Yeah, there's delay and delay on the drums and filter cutoff on the lead synth. The kind of 303-ish synth was mostly what I was doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked really well. I mean, even like I always say, even if you weren't looking at the hardware and you just heard this track, and it would be a good track, So I think you've done you've made a good track. The fact that you did it with hardware is even more impressive, and to me anyway.
Icing on the cake. It's more of a performance as opposed to just a piece of art. There's a performance that's included with that. It's just icing on the cake.
For sure.
Really, yeah.
Love all your sounds, Paul. Love watching your process. And well, if you were doing that live, put that in candlelight and the place would dance. It is, I want to be there. It's a great sound.
Thanks, Jeff. Awesome. Well, I got some homework to do.
You just need more electron gear and
Yeah, you don't have enough gear, Paul.
Well, I'll mention, I posted in chat, I saw this guy Machine Drum at Velvet Underground last night, and he did a live set using, among other things, an Electron Octatrack, Ableton Push, and a laptop, and some other shit I didn't even recognize, but like just doing this sort of beat driven music live and like actually playing like some of the broken up samples, like when you chop up a break onto each pad, like he was playing the breaks like on the pads live, and I was so impressed. It's like, I want to do that, but man, that's hard to do.
Yeah, the old Machine Drum though was just a wicked, and it had the SID station in it. They actually programmed the SID station into that as well, so you get those nice
well, the artist named himself after the drum machine, I'm pretty sure, because I know he has one. Yeah.
The what was the drum machine that you might enjoy is the new Jomox, Jomox. They just they just came out with the second version, and that is, yeah, it's, I would say it's on the level of not as in depth though. Like it's not menu driven as hard as Electron, but the sounds are tight.
Nice.
But I mean, in comparison, you could still play the Electron. At least you have the pads. They play a lot easier than the Jomox one. The Jomox is more old school.
Well, I remember reading about Jomox when I was like a teenager, first getting into this stuff, like in Sound on Sound magazine. But yeah, I'm noticing they're still releasing it today.
That drum machine's my goal. One day, when I'm,
really, that's the one. Okay.
When I'm single.
That might make you single. I'm not trying to start anything, but it's like, okay, that's the one. You stepped over the line here.
Well, I really do like the analog drum from Electron, and and you combine that with heat, and you've got just a dirty drum machine. But the Jomox has a sampler in it, as well as it's a synth. It's a synth drum. The other one that is really great to note is the HD1 from Erica Synths. Is it HD1? That is.
Is that the Percons?
Yes, that thing.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, that is mean. The bottom end on that is cruel. You put that on some kickers at a club, and ouch. That's another one that would be on my hit list, but that's only if I had money to spare.
Yeah.
The flexibility in the Jomox and stuff, but I like the just watching you play on those Electrons. I mean, I'm waiting for you to trade in yours for the second version that just came out.
It doesn't do enough new. I've decided. Well, I got a Syntact. I don't know if you know that. So that's my new obsession. So.
Yeah. Well, it's what was the difference anyway? 16. They put 16 tracks in it.
Stereo samples.
Stereo samples.
And additional effects, I guess. But
I think people adored the mono though. The sound of the mono. So at least that's what I'm hearing from people. They were hoping that they didn't mess with the mono samples or like the quality.
I feel it's the mono samples are part of my drum sound because like every song I've made in the last 3 years has had mono samples on the drums because it's either been a Digitact or a model samples. But it just makes you focus more on the individuality of each one, I think, and you can still pan them. They're still stereo, but.
Exactly, you can still add effects, but
yeah,
I guess I mean in theory you can make a stereo sampler mono, but I don't know.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be better to take a mono sampler and turn it into like stereo? Take your mono signal and double that. I'm asking.
No. I mean, I would agree.
Certainly for me, if I got hi hats, I'm sure it's pretty basic, but slow down left to right signal to hard pan left, hard pan right. Have one maybe 6-7 milliseconds slower than the other. Put a little different saturation on one side than the other. That gives me the width. But and with mono, it's great because you've got a clean signal. But I don't know if starting off with stereos, like stereo drum seems like a problem to start. Wouldn't it be?
Well, it depends on how you're using them. Cymbals and stuff like that. I don't mind them being anything in the upper can be stereo. The only thing that's going to mono out under 120 cycles is your kicks, or your bottom end, your basses and stuff. That's really all you need. That's mono. Everything else can play in stereo.
This is true. I find. I mean, something I do to get a little more punch. You do parallel compression. where I'm sure everybody knows, but you're fading in the original signal with dynamics, and you're bringing in a little bit of the very compressed signal in mono to give you that punch. And I would think that, like the more stereo you go with the percussion sound, the less punch you're going to get. And I guess that's fine in hi-hats, or I don't know. I guess if you start in mono, you could go out to stereo and make it a stereo signal. But if you start in stereo, you're going to have a hard time bringing it into that central punch. No?
Yeah, I don't know. My favorite is putting a snare on mono, creating a second track, and just panning 2 mono tracks left and right. And it just creates this stereo separation. That's really nice without having to use wider or anything like that.
Yeah, I do the same. I'm just wondering if you start with a stereo percussion sample, it just seems to me like, again, I don't know, but it seems like it would add a lot of complication to it. It's better to start with a mono and go to stereo.
I think, Peter, where like more of the mono samples is perceived as a limitation is if you already have a finished loop that you're processing that already has panning information. It might already have reverb applied to it, and if you use that in the Digitac, for example, it compresses it down to a mono sample, which then doesn't give you the width that whoever built that loop pre-prescribed. But the whole point of the Electron device is each step you make your own and add your own processing and whatnot. So you mangle it into your own thing. But I think that's where percussion samples are typically, like a kick drum is mono by default, right? Like that's how it's designed. Whereas, more with loops, you get a more unique sound on the Digitac because the file sizes are actually very small. It's only like 1 gigabyte of storage, but I've never run out. I've had it for 3 years, so that tells.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
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 Well, I mean, you can do a lot with the gig. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, and the nice thing is the Electrons, all their effects are stereo, so it doesn't matter what you're throwing at it.
Yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, I do. I'd love to get into that. I'm still arguing with my wife to get this little sequencer that Kilpatrick makes called Carbon, but it allows you to. It's a pattern sequencer that has 6 CV and gate outs, as well as 2 independent MIDI. So when you're playing live, you have a lot of control. You can pretty much do a live gig from it if you're that inclined. Also, when you plug it into your computer, you can use Ableton and use it as a CV. Like what's that company? Forget it. Can't remember their name right now. But they make these little devices that allow you to hook up your CV gear and whatnot, or your old analog stuff. But anyways, it's just small, it's portable, and I can take it with me and use it with my modular. But it's just great for it's a full-on 6-track sequencer, and but you can also sequence movements, your controls. So it's like having 6 extra pairs of hands, making all these changes on each individual gear while you're playing live. So just a lot, and then you have the pattern, so you can actually create these and change the patterns. But if you look it up, it's a Kilpatrick Audio Carbon, Carbon. But it's like $500, and I'm still trying to say, can I spend $500, honey, unnecessarily? So
yeah,
I said, no, sweetie, forget about it.
Meanwhile, I'm here with the duct tape makeshift headphones, bro.
That's exactly what she would say to me if I broke my headphones. She's like, you know where the duct tape is.
But I have a question for Peter. When you were listening to my song, you kept doing this, like you listened to this part of the headphone, and then you switch to this one, and then you put them both. Like, what were you doing exactly?
Let's see if we can see it. I'll try to turn the. There we go. There's my other culprit over there, my Yamahas. I was trying to get a feel for what's going on with the low end.
Are those the HS5s, Peter?
Those are the HS8s actually, and they're much too
Eight.
big. They're much too
Wow.
big for the room.
Whoa, dude. That must be rocking, man.
It
Jesus. Wow.
it rocks. It absolutely rocks. And I've got my homemade what are they? The sound deadening panels I got there, and it's great. But yeah, I bought the sub too, and that's
You got the
I don't
sub
need
as
it.
well?
I don't
Wow.
need it. I turn
Wow.
it right down.
So,
That's
but
crazy.
was it sounding good on the speakers or so-so?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I have a hard time with that Beyerdynamic 770 Pros, and I get a sense of the bass. I get a feel. It
I
sounds
have too,
heavy.
man. Yeah, I know what you mean. I got the same headphones.
Yeah, it sounds heavy, and I'm used to it. But I like to when I'm hearing a certain bass sound. I'm like, okay, does that have a depth of character? It's either usually I take it out to my car.
Mhm.
I've got there's a 10-inch woofer on a factory system in there, and it tickles it enough. So what I was trying to do was sort of hear turning up the actual monitors as opposed to the headphones to see if is this thing really tickling the room, and it was.
Mhm. I'm glad to hear because I mostly don't do that. Like I don't really verify the information that much. I go by what I know visually and theoretically and what I hear in these duct tape headphones, and I have some speakers too, but I don't know. I didn't put those particular tracks through the speakers, so I'm glad they sounded okay.
So are those M50s, Audio Technica?
Yeah, M50Xs.
Yeah,
Standard.
that is
Standard.
that's
low
my
budget.
like main monitor as well.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Translate well.
it's funny because I mean I've got a truck that has a certain sound system, and to me that's God. Like you listen to that sound system, it's just whatever it is, and it's not great. Like it's not like the greatest thing in the world. It's a factory, you know, sort of upgraded system, but something about it is very telling, and it really tells about that bottom end that when you're in a large space with subs, are you going to feel it? And
Yeah, the car test is a good one, and these days you're right that they really do well. For the longest time, they've been emphasizing the extreme ends of the spectrum in the car because you got all the road noise that you got to go over, and they really exaggerate the bass, at least in my car. And
sorry to interrupt. Can you check the green room? DJ Wolf, I think, is in there.
Oh,
sorry to interrupt, but I just I've been chatting with him in Twitch.
I don't see him.
Oh, he's not there. I looked away and I was talking to you, paying attention to you guys, and he said I got as far as the waiting room. Oh, nice to see you guys. Been a minute.
Oh shit! How long has he been in there? Because
sorry, I don't know if he'll come back to this now, but well, anyways, I'll go ahead. I'll interrupt you again if he happens to start chatting again.
When you say green room in the meetup chat, you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta keep an eye on that. Yeah, so many chats to keep an eye on. Damn.
Yeah, sorry about that. I told him he popped into, so I asked him how things were going, and he actually had a track that he had on Twitch, or sorry, on Instagram, that sounded really good. I was digging that. He's still playing with that video stuff.
Events chats, okay.
He's always somewhere, and it pisses me off because he's sending these pictures of all these foods and often these Bermudas, and all these or whatever Barbados and all these
living the dream, that's for sure.
And it's always techno. Like he's in some place where they're dropping techno. He is a true techno fan.
Yeah, I know. Some people say techno, and then after I met Peter, I'm like, okay, this is not just a word. It's like it's like a lifestyle. It's like an obsession.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's an obsession. Yeah, he is literally. If there is something like techno, he's there, and and it's great that his wife is right alongside him the whole time. It's like, yeah, honey, I'm there. So my wife would just like. And when she hears me and I'm writing something that's techno based, can you put your headphones on, please? Text, I get all these texts. I can't anymore. I can't.
I mean, in fairness, if you're, like 30 feet away from techno producer, all you're hearing is the top end of the sine wave of whatever you're putting it. Like, so your wife
The
has,
techno rumble.
has every right to tell you to turn that
Well,
shit down.
she needs to get
from
in the
that far
room, man.
away.
You need to put her in the room with you so she can hear the whole thing.
She needs the hi-hats too.
Well, she's more of a techno snob than Peter is. She's the one always like Peter comes to our meetup group and he's like, "Well, my wife, she wouldn't approve because I'm mixing this with that." But I always find that funny because it's like, wow, like a real purist. You know what I mean? Like there's
You know what, it's
things
funny.
I never even knew about. Like I would have never known. Like, but
Oh yeah, I mean, people will get upset. You say, "Oh, I do synthwave," and they go, "Well, yeah, but that song, like, there's like 3 times where the kick drum deviates from the four on the floor, so that's not synthwave." And it's like, what are you talking about? It's like a quarter second, 3/4 seconds where there's a slight difference. Like, no, no. So that's this. I don't know how people come up with titles for every bloody different genre. Like, to me, it's all music, and I can't tell the difference between house. I mean, maybe house and tropical house, but like drum and bass, jungle. I mean,
well, we've had the genre discussion before, and I remember there was a few producers who and it's hey, there's no right answer, but they're just like, I don't care about genre. But then you have to think about the DJs and the people that are trying to curate the music, it's like seeing a movie, right? Like there are directors that go off, is it a thriller, is it horror, is it suspense? But you know what I mean? It's like a way to categorize it so that someone can kind of understand where it fits. But it's definitely difficult, right? Because there are things that kind of go and they're not just strictly. And the other thing I'll say is I respect people like Peter who work within a genre and like really, you know what I mean, push it and take it as far as it can go. And it's nice to see those communities. Like I always get a kick out of like, I mean, even in drum and bass, there's always people arguing about, old versus new, for example. Like old drum and bass is the best. There's nothing new that's being made that can ever be as good. You know what I mean? And the people to this day will have that conversation. I'm just like, at least it shows passion, right? People love the music so much that they're willing to argue about it.
yeah, for sure. I guess I just probably my frustration comes from the fact that I can't tell the difference. Like, you've got like 6 genres, and to me, that's one genre. And when people are talking, oh no, but yeah, I guess I have trouble differentiating. But it's amazing how like how formula. I mean, the backbone of these genres are so formulaic, where like you really have to hit it. Like the
I can't
track you
keep
played earlier.
I
Yeah.
can't keep up. And like Vosto, I mean, what's his name? Z there with his data wave and like, all these subgenres, right?
Subgenres of synthwave, yeah. Data
Right.
wave.
And it's like
Mhm.
there's a thing, right? Like I mean,
It is, yeah. It's all music similar to what Com Trues makes. So how like it's like a glitchy type of synth with a lot of crazy syncopation going on with the notes,
well, we should
and
actually
also
pull it. Sorry.
a very good balance between closed and open hi-hats. That's like and with the glitchy sounds over it. It's pretty cool. It's a cool style, but it's if you listen too much to it, it gets boring. So in my radio show, I do a synthwave show every Sunday on Night Ride FM. I play all kinds of synthwave, from the dark synth to the regular synthwave to the outrun, which is more like action driving type of synthwave, to some chill synth, to stuff like Mega Drive that's very Terminator-esque.
See, I mean, I've never heard of any of that, Fausto. I may have listened to a number of songs that have that, but yeah, I get lost in these things. Like, and I want to know because, yeah, like you get a
It's
feel like
fun.
you get an understanding of it's fun. Exactly. You get an understanding of the backbone of music, but there's just so many bloody
And of
things.
course, there's synth pop, and there's like even subgenres in synth pop. For example, there's a thing called sweat wave, which is like synth pop but designed for workouts. It makes you think of like 80s workout music.
Oh, that's my stuff. That's my genre. I should go with that.
Right on. 3 more.
Sweat wave. I like it.
2 more.
Bring it up around the bend.
Right. I'm picturing neon spandex and leg warmers and stuff.
Right.
I mean, in fairness, I don't like to make music that I can't work out to. Like I try to do songs. I'm like, I'm gonna put this sucker at 85 BPM and we're just gonna ride. And then within a few minutes, I'm like, we're gonna do 190 or 170, and we're going. But I just can't. I can't keep it slow. It's amazing. But obviously, I mean, you guys have different styles, but it's hard for me to be slow.
Yeah, I'm better at slower stuff, but I appreciate and mix a lot higher BPM stuff just for fun.
I was going to say, Voster, I'd like to hear some Rotterdam from you. I think that would be pretty interesting. Nice Rotterdam sound, or not
We're
Gavin.
talking about hardcore,
Yeah.
hard style music.
Oh yeah.
That'd be such great.
May
Stuff
I
is
can do
fun.
it. I can do anything. I've tried
There
higher
you get.
higher BPMs with like more metal sounding synth, so like dark synth, metal synth inspired. I had a lot of fun with that.
Jungle mixes really well with Rotterdam because very
Yeah.
similar BPM, so you can just go all day long, like crazy mashups.
I mean, I'm a big fan of. I grew up on jungle, drum and bass, happy hardcore, then into
Right on.
hardstyle as I get older, and it's just
vibes.
it's yeah, hardcore vibes. Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
I was thinking that's from Jesus. We're old, so
Dune.
well, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that was MS-20 and a 707, I think it was.
I really wouldn't know, but I mean that it's funny. I listen to that stuff all the time, and I just can't make it. Like hard style, I can't make. Like I've gotten close, but it's funny what a difficult genre it is. Or even, I mean, to me it is. I like trance music. I would never try. I've done drum and bass. I've done synth pop, synth wave, hard
About hard
style.
bass. You should try hard bass from Russia. Yeah.
I mean, sounds good already.
It's a style that it's kind of like hard style, but it has a Russian vibe to it. It's called hard bass, and it has a donk, like electronic music donk.
Yes,
and it really makes use of those donks.
donk is good.
Interesting, pretty cool vibe. You really want to dance to it,
But it's funny
drink
because
vodka.
it's out of my reach, right? Like it's so difficult. Like you've got these hard saws where it sounds like there's like 6, 7 layers. It hits you hard. The sustain is fantastic. It just I can't do it. And so I make music I really enjoy it. It's just short of what I would.
I mean, just crank the unison up in Serum, and it's done.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's that easy. You guys know, yeah, it's so easy. Anyways.
Well, anyway, guys, great discussion. I think I'm going to end the live stream, but you guys are welcome to continue on the Zoom. But I'm just going to go ahead and hit the stop button on the stream. But
has anyone had enough of this guy? I mean,
anyways, bye.
I'm just
watching on the live stream. But again, I'm going to keep this